Cagliostro was charged with being the most cunning and successful impostor and charlatan of his age. He was also accused of belonging to the Jesuit chapter of Clermont in France. He could easily persuade devotees of his ability to perform miraculous cures, conduct mystic Egyptian rites, and turn base metals into gold. Cagliostro had never mixed himself up with political intrigue. He was simply an occultist and a mason, and as such was allowed to suffer at the hands of those who first tried to kill him by lifelong imprisonment, and later spread the rumor that he had been their ignoble agent. There are many landmarks in Cagliostro's biographies to show that he taught the Eastern doctrine that God dwelling in man as a potentiality of a higher self. And there was consciousness and in every living thing, including in atoms. Clearly, he served the masters of a fraternity, with members he would not name, because on the account of his sacred pledge, he could not. His letter to the new mystical but rather motley brotherhood, the Lodge of Philaletes, is a proof in point. The Mother Lodge was a philosophical and theosophical lodge, and therefore Cagliostro was right in desiring to purify its progeny, the Lodge of Philaletes. The new purified principles were to be based on the principles of Martinism, and whose members made a special study of the occult sciences. The Martinists were mystics and theosophists who claimed to have the secret of communicating with elemental and planetary spirits of the ultra-mundane spheres. Some of them were practical occultists. Martinism is a form of Christian mysticism and esoteric Christianity. The grievance of the lodge was that Cagliostro, who had first promised to take charge of it, withdrew his offers, as the convention would not adopt the constitutions of the Egyptian rite. Many were the absurd and entirely contradictory statements about Joseph Balsamo, the Count de Cagliostro, several of which were said of being incorporated by Alexander Dumas in his Memoirs of a Physician. The statements presented prolific variations of truth, facts which so characterized Dumas's romances. The trial of Cagliostro lasted for a long time. In a letter of March the 17th, Battini writes to his Lucca correspondent that the famous wizard has finally appeared before the Holy Inquisition. But the real cause of the slowness of the proceedings was that the Inquisition, with all its dexterity at fabricating proofs, could find no serious evidence to prove the guilt of Cagliostro. He was accused of deriding the Holy Faith, doing harm to society, possessing himself by means unknown of large sums of money, and inciting others, independently of gender, age, and social standing to do the same. In short, we find the unfortunate occultist condemned to an ignominious death for deeds committed the like of which are daily and publicly committed nowadays by more than one Grand Master of secret societies, as also by hundreds of thousands of Kabbalists and Masons, mystically inclined. And then, there are Masons who to this day tell strange stories in Italy. Some say that Cagliostro escaped in an unaccountable way from his aerial prison, and thus forced his jailers to spread the news of his death and burial. Others maintain that he not only escaped but, thanks to the elixir of life, still lives on. Nevertheless, on April the 7th, 1791 Cagliostro was condemned to death. Giuseppe Balsamo is mentioned for the last time in the Battini correspondence in a letter dated March 10, 1792. The ambassador speaks of a marvel produced by Cagliostro in his prison during his leisure hours. A long rusty nail taken by the prisoner out of the floor was transformed by him without the help of any instrument into a sharp triangular stiletto, as smooth, brilliant, and sharp as if it were made of the finest steel. It was recognized as an old nail only by its head, left by the prisoner to serve as a handle. The state secretary gave orders to have it taken away from Cagliostro, brought to Rome, and to double the watch over him. We ask, how long shall charitable people build the biographies of the living, and ruin the reputations of the dead, with such incomparable unconcern, by means of idle and often entirely false gossip of people, and these generally the slaves of prejudice? So long, we are forced to think, as they remain ignorant of the law of karma and its iron justice. Learn more about Cagliostro, occult and ageless wisdom teachings at our website, pythagorasteachings.com.